So guys, for 30 years, the Dallas Cowboys had Pro Bowlers, All-Pros, household names, and still could not get back to the Super Bowl. The talent was never the problem. The problem was they never had a real team. Offense doing one thing, defense doing another, special teams somewhere in between, three separate units, three separate cultures under one roof. But now Christian Parker just held a press conference, and what he said in that room tells me something has genuinely shifted inside that building. And not only this, but Christian Parker actually changed that one thing. What Brian Schottenheimer desperately wanted to get back into Super Bowl conversation. What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome to the NFL Playbook, Cowboys. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So, guys, you will agree with me, the Cowboys never had a talent problem. Not even close. I mean, think about it. Season after season, this franchise was sending 8, 9, 10 players to the Pro Bowl. All-Pro across the board. Guys who were household names all across the NFL. And yet, we kept sitting at home when January rolled around. We kept watching other teams play for championships while we were asking ourselves what went wrong. And the answer was never the roster. The answer was something much deeper than that. And honestly, it took me a while to really put my finger on it. This team was never one team. It was always two teams sharing the same locker room. That is what killed Dallas for 3 straight decades, and nobody was fixing it. Now, I want you to think about something. When Brian Schottenheimer first walked through that door, the very first thing he said publicly was simple. He said he was a great communicator. A lot of people laughed about that. I remember people talking more about the scheme, more about the offensive philosophy, more about whether he could call plays at this level. But I kept coming back to that word, communication, because I felt like he was telling us something important right then and there. He was not just talking about X's and O's, he was talking about culture. He was talking about getting everybody in that building speaking the same language, operating from the same playbook, not just offensively, but as an entire organization. And you know what, guys? Fast forward to right now, and that word is everywhere inside that building. You hear it from the offensive staff, you hear it from the front office, and most importantly, you hear it loud and clear from Christian Parker. That is not a coincidence. That is a culture doing exactly what a culture is supposed to do. It spreads. So, now let me tell you what Christian Parker said in his last press conference. The man sat down in front of those reporters, and he started breaking down his entire philosophy. And the thing that stood out to me more than anything else was how he talked about communication on the field. He made it really simple. When you are out there on that grass, communication is a premium. It is not about whether you are naturally a loud person or a quiet person. It is about what your position demands. If you are responsible for the checks, if you are responsible for making sure everybody is lined up right before the snap, then that is what you do, period. No excuses, no exceptions. And I love that because that is exactly the kind of clarity this defense has been missing for years. But here is the part that really got me. Parker talked about his play call system, and guys, this is the one thing that I truly believe Schottenheimer desperately wanted from this defense. Short, direct, simple play calls. I mean, we are talking about a system where the calls are only a handful of words. He literally has an Excel document on his desktop with different word banks, insects, NBA teams, weapons, you name it, and he builds these calls so that every single word has meaning, every letter has meaning. And the whole point is to shorten the process for his players. Because think about it. From the moment that play call hits to the moment the ball is snapped, there is so much happening. What personnel group is the offense in? What is the formation? Where is the guy you need to account for? What is the situation? There is a lot going on up there mentally. So, the shorter and more direct that play call is, the more mental bandwidth your players have to actually process what they are seeing and react to it. That is not just smart football, that is brilliant football. And that is exactly the kind of communication efficiency that Schottenheimer has been trying to build into this entire organization from day one. Now, what makes Parker even more special to me is how he teaches. I mean, honestly, this dude is not just a coordinator, he is a teacher. He talked about pop quizzes, personal whiteboards in the meeting room, film sessions where players have to write out responses and hand them back to him. He is constantly checking for understanding. He is not assuming anybody knows anything. And that matters so much more than people realize because one of the biggest problems this defense had in recent years was guys not being on the same page mentally. You can have all the talent in the world, but if one guy is a half-second slow processing because he is still figuring out the call, That is how you give up a big play. Parker is attacking that problem directly, and he is doing it through teaching, through repetition, through making sure everybody in that room genuinely understands what they are supposed to do and why. And look, it is not just about the system he is installing, it is about the relationships he is building too. Parker talked about how players come by his office all the time during downtime just to spend 15-20 minutes. He talked about doing different events outside the facility just to get to know the man before he coaches the player. He even mentioned texting Caleb Downs back and forth during the game 7 between the Thunder and the Spurs while they were sitting on opposite sides of the arena. I mean, that right there tells you everything. That is a coordinator who genuinely invests in his people, not just on the field, but off it too. And when players feel that kind of investment from their coach, they run through walls for that coach. That is just how it works. And you want to know who is eating all of this up? Caleb Downs. Parker was asked directly about him, and he did not hesitate for a second. He said Caleb Downs has been exactly as advertised. He is a worker. He craves coaching. He wants to be corrected. He does the extras. And I think that says everything about the kind of culture Parker is building, because when your young guys are coming in with that mentality, when rookies are hungry for correction instead of running from it, that tells you the environment is right. That tells you the standard is being set from the top and it is filtering all the way down. That is culture doing its job. Now look, I cannot talk about this culture shift without talking about where it all starts on the field, and Christian Parker made this crystal clear. It starts up front. He specifically talked about Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark stepping up in a major way, talking about how those guys have taken the bull by the horns in terms of how they practice, the effort they bring, the habits they show in the meeting room before and after practice. He called them true professionals. And when you have guys like that anchoring your defensive line, setting that tone every single day, it changes the standard for everybody around them. You throw Rashawn Gary into that mix, a guy playing with a massive chip on his shoulder, surrounded by that kind of talent, and this front is going to cause some serious problems for opposing offenses this season. I genuinely believe that, and Parker knows it too. He was very intentional about pointing to those guys first, not the skill positions, not the secondary, the trenches. Because that is where winning football is played, and this Cowboys defense is being built from the ground up the right way. And Parker also talked about how the offense and defense go against each other in practice, and it is not some light walkthrough. We are talking unscouted, unscripted looks, jet motions, formation shifts, route concepts, all of it. Nothing is handed to you easy. And Parker said they welcome that, because the more exposure this defense gets to those kinds of looks in practice, the more prepared they are going to be on game day. Iron sharpens iron. That is what is happening inside that facility right now, and that is what a real team looks like. Now, I want to talk about something that I observe these days. Did you notice Jerry Jones is quiet these days? You are not seeing him in front of every camera. You are not hearing him make headlines every other week. And I mean that probably the best possible thing for the Cowboys right now. He is doing his job, handling his business, and letting his coaching staff lead. And Parker actually said it himself in that press conference. He said what Jerry has built here is special. He said there is a crystal clear vision for all parties involved, and that alignment exists across the entire organization. That is not something you just say to fill time. That is something you say when you actually feel it, when you actually experience it, walking through that building every day. And that right there tells me Jerry has finally learned the most important lesson of his ownership career. Get the right people, give them the resources they need, communicate the vision clearly, and then get out of the way and let them work. So now, guys, the pieces are in place. The culture is being built the right way. The trenches are loaded, the communication is clean, and everybody in that building is finally pulling in the same direction. Now it is on the players to go out there and prove it on the field. And honestly, I cannot wait to see what this defense looks like when the lights come on for real. Cowboys Nation, this is the most excited I have been about this team in a very long time.